On episode 75, we're talking about how to market a one-to-one practice. Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to the 88 Show. This is the internet's only dental show where we are answering marketing's most important questions. I'm your host, Joshua Scott, and this right here is episode 75. It's going down live on a Monday morning here at 88 team behind me. Actually got a really busy few weeks coming up. We're calling it production, I don't know what we're calling it, production month. If you're following us on social media, man, we've got 2 sessions this week, we got 2 sessions next week. We're kind of all over the place, so we're just getting things ready for that. But wanted to get episode 75 in. This month's topic, one-to-one dentistry and what that means. And so last episode on 74, we talked a little bit about that and kind of the concept of it. This week specifically, we're going to talk about marketing a one-to-one practice, what that looks like, because it's a little bit different. And again, as we're seeing kind of the single doctor practices try to differentiate themselves from the group corporate side of things, this is becoming more and more important. And these conversations are good, but I think there's some specific ways we can market this. And so let's jump into it. I'm actually going to grab the flip chart over here. Is that good? Because I just rather draw some of this. All right, so let's talk about mass marketing versus one-to-one marketing. And so on the mass marketing side, you know, we're marketing to average patients. Very, very big demographic, messages aimed at lots of people. We're focusing on standard care, standard dental care, maybe why we're different, but a very broad message. Typically, we're looking at more single procedure type treatment. I mean, a lot of marketing along these lines, it could be emergency based. It could be getting them in for just a single treatment in hopes of maybe keeping them long term. Typically, marketing here is focused more on monologue. It's us talking, a little bit less of a conversation. With mass marketing, we're literally talking about as many as possible. So a mass marketing office, it's really as many new patients as we can possibly get in. And then last, when it comes to mass marketing, it is more of a have to do approach. And so when it comes to treatment plans and maybe the vibe of the patients leaving the practice is, I have to do this, I have to get this done, okay? So let's look at how a one-to-one practice differs from this. Instead of average marketing, average message, we are now talking to individuals. The marketing is more geared that way, just the tone, the overall perspective of it. We're talking to people, more of an individualized approach. Instead of standard services, one-to-one provides more personalized care. It's a more personalized approach. The treatment plan is reflective of them, their journey, their readiness, their overall oral health. Instead of single procedure, a one-to-one practice is focused on complete care. So most of these practices have an overall wellness approach to it, where integration between body and mouth, that's coming through in the recommendation and the education of the patient. Instead of a monologue, it's a dialogue. We talked about this last week with this being an actual tool of the new patient exam. Let's look at it like that. Like, this is a tool that we use for that clinical procedure, is dialogue. Instead of as many patients as possible, we're looking at patients for life. Patients for life. And what's really interesting right here is I remember this one time I was speaking at a dental seminar and I was talking about marketing, and the whole approach was Yes, new patients, but the goal is, the journey is lifetime patients and that ROI, right, of the patient over their lifetime. And I remember a doctor kind of raised his hand and challenged me on this. And he said, what if you don't want patients for life? And I think at first I kind of joked and was like, well, who wouldn't want that? But his approach was very serious, and he said that back to me. And the fact is, there are lots of practices across this country who have to have the 85 patients, new patients every month to survive. They've built their practice around as many as possible. But one-to-one practices, man, I'll tell you, some of our biggest ones, 20, 25 new patients a month, but they're keeping them for life. And over the next 10 years, makes a huge difference. And then last, instead of have to do, it's want to do. Want to do. And so the vibe of patients in this practice is, I want to do this. I value my oral health. I absolutely want to protect that and maintain it throughout the course of my life. And so you can obviously see the difference here between mass marketing and one-to-one marketing. But let's go over, let me give you some specific keys that I think really make a difference when you're marketing this type of practice. All right, so let's talk about specifically marketing a one-to-one practice. And I'll give you 5 points here. Number one is you have to market. Okay, and I know that you're kind of like, wait, what? Where are you going? Like, that's basic. But here's the deal. A lot of these types of practices don't like marketing for whatever reason. And maybe that's, some stigmas or stereotypes you have around it, or just kind of bad taste of that mass marketing model. But we can do it different. And the fact is, we have to. It's not enough to say that you're special. We have to tell people why, and we have to communicate that. And so let's just switch out. Instead of you have to market, we have to tell people. We have to tell people about the practice, okay? So that's number one. Number two is that these are conversations. These types of concepts, to try to explain neuromuscular dentistry in our marketing, it's just too much. To try to explain what a bioaesthetic approach or philosophy is, through the marketing, it's just overwhelming. And so while those are really great, those are conversations that are meant for the practice with the patient to help educate them and lead them on that journey. If we try to download all that into the very first appointment or through the marketing, man, we're just blowing them out of the water, okay? So that's number two. Number three is we have to simplify the story. We have to simplify the story. Because these are a little bit of a complex thought or approach, or something that patients aren't normally used to hearing or seeing, we need to simplify it. And I tell practices and doctors all the time, you've got one thing to say. I mean, we've got the logo, it's gonna capture attention, but then you've got one thing to say. And sometimes they'll say, great, what is that? And I'm like, it doesn't matter, but you've got one thing to say. So what is that gonna be? We can say anything, but you've got one thing. And so simplify the story. Let's figure out a tagline that starts that journey in the right direction, that allows us to build on it the approach and the values and the philosophy of how we want to practice, okay? Number four, the most important clinical procedure in your practice is the new patient exam. And by far, this will probably be the most routine, the most frequent procedure that you perform. So choreographing it is huge. I mean, spend your money here. Overall, we could probably have a lower marketing cost, but we're gonna spend more with that new patient and get your team on board. It's really slowing down with that new patient to kind of take them by the hand and lead them on that journey so that later you can speed up. Later, you can go fast because now you've got the trust, the foundation laid that allows that to happen, okay? So that's number four. And then last is retention. Man, retention is your game. And so your hygiene department is huge. Honestly, the biggest practices that we deal with across the country have massive hygiene departments because they're not losing patients and they're keeping them involved in hygiene. And so imagine what that's like over the next 10 years, 20 years. And so knowing like your reappointment rate and your attention rate and all those things, man, that's so key. And so if you do that, you don't need the 85 to 100 new patients a month. You need 20. You need 25, maybe 32 new patients, whatever it is where you're comfortable, because long term that compounds and you keep them in the practice. And so now 2 years later, the practice is bigger, and 5 years later, it's even bigger, and 10 years later, it's even bigger. And I've noticed that one of the keys to a big long-term practice is in hygiene. And so retention is your game. Guys, hopefully those 5 points help you. If you're in this kind of model and you're thinking about this, those are some marketing keys that I've seen just from the practices we've worked with that I think would be really helpful in allowing you to kind of set this up and communicate it to your community. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Jay Moore and the crew here on episode 75. Last thought to leave you with, man, this is a long game. Marketing is a long game. And so I can't tell you how much patience is underrated in marketing as a tool and as a strategy. So think about the compounding return on this over the next 10, 20 years. Man, I think it's a great way to build your practice. Up next, September's featured article is coming up on the next episode. That's happening. Oh man, I almost forgot. I know you're twitching over here. Question of the show. What's one thing you can do to up your new patient exam? What's one thing you can do to up that new patient exam, get it out of the routine, make it magical? Guys, I'll leave you with that. Best place to find me is on Instagram. You can find that link down below at Joshua Scott. Would love to connect with you there. That's it, man. I'm out. Episode 75. I'll see you next time. Take 2. Let me see. Trash can down there. Think I can get it?
I think you got this.
Oh man, it was short. Dude, that ceiling's just, it's low. Man.